All right, let's get practicing in QuickBooks Online. Grab the link below so that you can follow along. All right, so here we are in the QBO gym, and the QBO gym is really just a set of exercises that help simulate real-life scenarios that you may encounter as a bookkeeper. So every month they are sorted into 4 different categories, and within each category there are a bunch of exercises to complete. So today we're going to work on June in the warm-up section. So when I click on here, I get the video that really just tells you a little synopsis of what's going on in Craig's world. He's our fictitious business owner, what's been going on that past month. If you scroll down a little bit further, you'll see a little quiz that relates to the video that that you had just watched. And then down below, you will see all of the exercises. So today we are going to work on practicing adding expenses. Now, in order to do this, you need to make sure that you download the receipts from Craig. And the way to do that is if you scroll back up to the top, there is a button underneath the video that says stack of receipts. Just go ahead and click on that. And these are the receipts we are going to use for this exercise. All right, so let me go to the exercise itself. And here it is. We are going to be working in the sample company. That's where we always work. If you're not sure how to get there or how to get your own free QBOA account, just click on the link below in the description. Okay, and this is what the sample company looks like. This is Craig's dashboard here. All right, so the scenario, Craig has left you a stack of receipts for a variety of things that he purchased since you were there last, including a return receipt for an item that he purchased at Hicks Hardware. Again, make sure that you have the receipts downloaded. That is what this is, and it's in that warm-up section underneath the video. Okay, just keep in mind that one of the challenges when receiving receipts is knowing which account they were paid out of. If you can't tell from the receipt itself, then you'll just need to ask Craig. For these exercises, we're just going to assume that you already spoke to him and he said that he used his credit card to make both purchases and that the return will be credited back to his account. Keep in mind that we are not going to be working with sales tax in these particular exercises. All right, so we're going to work through the first receipt, and this one is from Hicks Hardware. Normally, Craig will buy his items from Tanya's nursery, but there was a supply shortage, and what he needed was out of stock. The ones at Hicks were much more expensive, so he'll return his stock as soon as some more come in from Tanya's. All right, so to get started with this, we're going to click on the plus new button and select expense. So the plus new button here up at the top. Under vendors, you're going to click on expense. All right. And then step 2, you're going to start filling it out. We are going to put in the payee field, we're going to type Hicks Hardware. In the payment account field, we're going to put a MasterCard. And then we are going to leave the payment date as a default. Know that in an actual scenario, you're going to want to put the date the items were purchased. But for the purpose of these exercises and future ones, we're just going to leave the default date as is. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that. The payee, like we said, was going to be Hicks Hardware. And it is coming from the MasterCard, and we're just going to leave the payment date as a default date. One other thing to note is that the category and the amount from the last expense for Hicks Hardware may automatically appear. That's because in the accountant settings, you can choose whether you want the forms to be pre-filled out with information from a previous transaction or not. And to show you what I mean, this is what I'm talking about here. This is from a previous transaction. I'm going to get out of this and show you how you can select if you want to have this turned on or off. You would go to the gear icon off of the dashboard. Under your company, you would click on Account and Settings. Over on this side, you're going to see different categories. Click on Advanced. And then down here on the automation, you'll see pre-fill forms that with previously entered contact, which for me is on. Okay, so let me go ahead and get started again. Plus new button, click on Expense. I'm going to get this filled out for Hicks Hardware. In the MasterCard, leaving this payment date as a default, and then we are going to move on to the next step. All right, so you will need to decide whether to add the items in the category grid or the items grid. And I'll show you what that means in a minute. If Craig wants to track how many he has on hand, which is inventory product, or how many he has purchased over time, which is non-inventory product, this will go in the items grid, and it must be set up in the products and services ahead of time. But if not, it will go in the category grid. So in this case, he tracks the bags of soil, but he does not track the bags of mulch. So let's work on the mulch part first. So in the category grid, you are going to enter this information here. Note that if you start to type in plants and soil, you may be presented with identical choices in the dropdown, and that's because the first one is an expense account and the second one is an income account. In real life, you will probably want to change these kind of accounts even if they're similar, just so it's easier when you're selecting them. So let me go ahead and show you what I mean. If I type in here plants and soil, you'll see that there are two here. This top one actually is the expense account. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one. Okay, so now we're going to go on to step 5. We're going to type in the description mulch, and under the amount, we're going to put 125. You will see that QBOA may include a different amount at first, which just reflects the last time that you purchased this from Tanya. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put mulch here, and the amount is going to be 125. I'm just going to tab on over. All right, and then on steps 6 and 7, you're going to click on the arrow to open up the items grid because we are going to be now doing the soil because we're tracking soil. So under the product and services, it's going to be landscaping soil. The quantity is 20, and then we're going to tab over. And where I'm getting that from is this right here, the soil. There were 20 that they bought. Okay. So here is the items detail. If it's like this, all you have to do is click on this little arrow. Okay, and then we are going to put in their soil, which is right there, and it's pre-filled this out for me here. And then the quantity, as we had from the receipt, is going to be 20. I'm just going to tab over for right now. And when I did that, you saw that the amount had changed for it. Again, this is what the rate that's in there right now is pre-filled out from the products and services list, and this is the rate that Craig usually uses when he receives the items from Tanya. So we can change it for this particular transaction at Hicks, and it will not affect the rate on transactions in the future. Again, because you already have it set up in the products and services list itself. Okay, in the description, 2 cubic feet bag and the rate $6.50 again comes from that products and services list. But what the rate is from here is from Tanya is a little bit different. So when Craig plans to go back to her when the supply issue is resolved, we'll just have it changed in the expense transaction. It will, like I said before, it will not affect what you already have in the products and services. This is just kind of a one-time override that we're doing. Okay, so we're going to change the amount to 195, and that's because here, that's how much the soil cost, 195. Okay, so I'm going to do 195, and I'm going to tab over. As you can see, QBO automatically changed this rate based off of the quantity times the rate to equal this, okay? And to get that, all you did is the 195, and you tab over so that you can have this automatically calculated for you. Okay, and that's the end of this expense. So all you're going to do is just click Save and Close, which is this green button down here. Save and Close, and you are done with that expense. Okay, so now we have taken care of this receipt. Now we're going to work on the Cal telephone. Okay, and the scenario here is that he left this receipt for payment to Cal Telephone for monthly telephone services. You had previously set this up as a recurring bill, but it hasn't shown up in your list, so you'll just need to manually pull it up and mark it as paid. All right, so to do this, you're going to go to the gear icon and select recurring transactions. So gear icon, and under lists, you're going to click on recurring transactions. And these are the ones that are pulling up. As you can see, here's the one for Cal Telephone. Okay, so this payment is set up as a bill transaction. And now remember that with a bill, you have to have, it's a two-step process. First, you have to put it in as a bill, and then later you have to mark it as payment, or make the payment, excuse me. If the amount is the same every single month, you may want to talk to Craig about setting up a recurring payment that automatically withdrawn from Craig's account. This will save you a lot of time and a lot of hassle, and it'll be automated. And it would be set up as a recurring expense instead. If, however, Craig has issues with cash flow or relies on not having it paid right away, you would want to leave it as is. Also keep in mind that on this sample company, The next date may be past what today is, but in real life, it will be the next date that it's paid. So let's say that it gets paid on the 15th of every single month. It'll show the 15th of the following month so that you can see a future date. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is you're going to click on the little arrow to edit and select Use. So this is the arrow right here under Cal Telephone. You're going to click on Use from the drop down. Okay, so the bill date will automatically appear. It will be the date that you created the transaction, but again, in the real life scenario, you may want to adjust this to the date of the actual bill, but for our purposes, we're just going to leave it as a default. So then you're just going to click on the black Save button, which is down here next to the green one. Just click Save. And when you do that, this is going to appear. So that is part of our step 4. You're going to mark it as paid, which is this one right here. Click on that. Okay, and then we have step 5. We are just going to make sure that MasterCard is still the account there, which it is. And then we are going to just save and close it. So that is the green button down here. And that is done. So now we have taken care of paying off this receipt. And now we have this return receipt, which is the last one. Okay, and the scenario is that Tanya's soil has come back in stock. So Craig returned what he had purchased from Hicks Hardware. Craig purchased this on his MasterCard, so the return is going to go back on his card as well. So now we're just going to record that. Okay, and this is a very simple one. To do this, you're going to click on the plus new button and credit card credit. So the plus new button, and under vendors, you're going to go down to credit card credit. We're just going to click on that one. And then we're going to start filling it out. The payee field is going to be Hicks Hardware. The bank credit account should still be MasterCard selected. And then we're going to use the items grid to add in this other information. But let me go first into this. We're going to put Hicks Hardware. Okay, and it is still showing the MasterCard. And down here, we are going to, in the items detail grid, because the soil is an inventory product, we're going to do landscaping soil. The quantity that he's returning is 8 and the rate is $9.75. As you can see here, soil 8 count at $9.75. So close the category, open this. I'm going to type in soil. All right, and the quantity again from the receipt is 8. And the rate was $9.75, and I'm going to tab it over and it automatically calculates for me. As you can see, 78 there, 78 there. Okay, and then the last thing that you're going to do is just saving and closing. And there you go. There are 3 different examples of how to add expenses to QBO. If you have any questions about the QBO gym, just click on the link below. Be sure to do the other exercises in the June warm-up section, including another part 2 of adding expenses, adding a recurring contract, and processing bank feed transactions. And I will see you next time.